Asteroid of fear.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. Volume was a little low. Adjust it here. Hold on. Adjust the mic. Well, maybe. Oh, there we go. How about that? All right, now we got that taken care of. Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. And it is going to be Monday's episode. Um, Sorry for missing Saturday's episode yesterday. Today is Sunday, recording this on a Sunday evening. And yeah, normally Saturday would be the recap, but we're going to do tomorrow, Monday, as a recap. We're going to do the whole week, and yeah, we'll get to why. Why didn't I record Friday night as normal? Well, that's because I spent the evening in the ER with my dad and then got him home after he was discharged. So I think I've explained to you guys that we help out another gentleman in his 55 and older community, and he has this big Hoyer lift that lifts him from his bed to his wheelchair. And he's yanked the control out before. He's got some that it's kind of these wires that kind of grasp in or plug in, and it has a wired control that you can operate from the bed and get it to swing back and forth, like you can see on the screen. Not for the listeners. Um, it goes left to right, and kind of like a claw machine, it picks you up, and once he gets in it, it has a little control panel with a joystick and whatnot that he's able to move over to his motorized wheelchair. Well, so these are like, you know, basically, I got a call. There is another gentleman that my wife kind of helps out with over there, and he he too has a motorized wheelchair, but he has been walking Pucky, this gentleman's dog, the whole time he was in rehab. They'd been different people had been watching him, walking him, and yeah, Ben is his name. He comes in, and he just always comes in to get Pucky, and you know, my wife gets a call from him. He's called 3 times, so my wife hangs up. She's talking to my mom, and um, Ben had called 3 times, and he's like, "Hey, your father-in-law and David are on the ground. Um, I got to call 911 to get them up." And I'm like getting my daughter. It's Friday night. I'm on the way to get like Panera bread, some bread bowls for some soup because it was cold. And my wife calls me. She's like, "You got to drop off Sophie and go see your dad. Go figure out what's going on. I think he's going to the hospital." And, you know, so apparently he scooped himself up, and it scooped up the chuck, which a chuck is like, it's like a pad liner thing that goes across a bed that, if you poop or pee or, anyone who's wearing a diaper, you kind of put one underneath it in case anything leaks out. It's not getting on the sheet, going through the sheet onto the mattress. Well, this claw machine, it pulls up the chuck with him, along with him. And when he sits down in his wheelchair, I think maybe because of that, like he slid a little bit because this thing is, it's like a magic carpet, only it wasn't so magical. And he starts sliding off of his chair, so he calls my dad to go help him. And my dad's kind of maybe behind him, and maybe he's going to try to lift or pull him up. Or my dad was like, maybe if you just slide down and to the sheet, I can pull you over and we can grab you with the claw machine and put you in your wheelchair. Well, I guess he accidentally, he doesn't have any fingers. He hits his hand hits the little knob on the motorized wheelchair and it hauls ass and crashes into the wall, which hurts his feet and his head hits the wall kind of. But he still kind of had that claw machine a little bit around his torso because, he was sliding down and so he grabbed onto it, almost like one of those rescue things you see come down from a helicopter, like a hoist. And he pulled this whole mounted lift over and it hit my dad in the back of the head and slid down his back, knocked him down, and he hit his face on the floor and it pinned him. He was unable to get up. And had it not been for Ben coming in to walk the dog, yeah. So he ended up going to the ER and the thing completely missed David, of course, by luck. And so, yeah, I spent the night doing that, and then, of course, getting him home, and then getting home myself. Um, yeah, that's how the week kind of ended. Yeah, we can start from the beginning, I think. What was the week like? Oh, the wife and daughter got home, yeah, late. We might have discussed that on the Monday recap. Wednesday, I did my thing. Probably the most notable things for the week was definitely it rained and it's cooler, 100%. And then I've been able to get early walk-ins all week because, now I can wait when Buck is awake and I can just say, "Hey, I'm going for a walk," and that's that. And he knows to expect me to be gone for about an hour. And but oh yeah, that's where we'll go. That's what I wrote down here on my pad was there was a couple of days. Let me see. So he normally wakes up somewhere between 10 and 12:30. Kind of depends on the previous night. Um, there's no rhyme or reason. So, I get up rather early and I have a little routine and I'm able to get things done before my daughter goes to school. And then once my daughter and wife are out of the house, I continue on with my routine and try to get as much done as I can because who knows when he's going to wake up. But it's been pretty consistent. Every once in a while, if one of the therapists texts me, like, "Hey, I want to come by now," or like usually an hour before, then I know, like, okay, if they're going to be here at 11:30, I need to wake them up about 10:15 so we can do the whole routine. I can change them if need be, feed them breakfast and a little bit of digestion before physical therapy or occupational therapy comes and gives them a workout. So, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But there was one day this week, man, it was early and my sleep has been off. I've been sleeping later, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, where I'm normally a 4:30, 5 a.m. kind of person. But yeah, he woke up by, I don't know if it was 7:30 one day. It was early. I'll put it to you this way. We had to do the whole morning routine. I made him his breakfast, and I didn't have my first cup of coffee till he was having breakfast. That was brutal, sort of. Because my morning routine is like those first few hours of waking up, having coffee, working on my computer, checking off my daily habits, planning out my stuff, engaging with others. That is my magic time, my quiet time. I didn't get any of that. And yeah, so it's going to make for a long day. But although I kind of on a short term type of thing, oh, not getting my coffee and stuff, part of what I like about doing what I do is the unknown, is the fact that you don't know when he's going to wake up, what the needs for the day are going to require. It's that whole kind of variety is the spice of life type thing. Oh man, I got itchy back. And when you think about like some of the careers I've had, if you look at, let's see, the military, one, especially being on a carrier and you're like general quarters, you don't know when you're going to man your battle station, man overboard drill, uh, cooking. It might be busy and slammed, it might not be. And it can ebb and flow. You can have multiple rushes. Working in the emergency room 2 different times. Even when I did family practice but had an urgent care. Just never knowing what was going to come across your threshold. Every day could be completely different, even if it's kind of the same. To me, I love it. I kind of thrive in those environments, those circumstances and situations. So I really dig it. Um, so yeah, even though I didn't get my coffee and it makes for a different kind of day, in the grand scheme of things and big picture, it's part of the allure and one of my favorite things about getting to do what I do. Probably much better than Groundhog Day. Although I do like a number of sequential days where I can be productive, have my routine, have everything done, and know that everything's kind of going to be by the book. That is also enjoyable. But something's always going to derail you. So, I think the thing is how many of those can you string together before the chaos comes and breaks it up? And understanding that that's going to happen, being aware of it, you can at least keep most things the same, kind of like my habits and my routine. As long as I get it in, the day he woke up earlier, I was like, well, that's, it's 7:30. I probably go to bed 11:30 or later. I have a long time to get movement, learning, engagement, everything done. I probably had to record an episode too of this. Like, you got all day. Sometimes you need all day. And there was another day, by design, kind of how my life is with what I do. Speaking of having all day, I mean, there was one day I woke up early, had a cup of coffee, and then was just like overwhelmed with tired, laid down on the bed and took a nap. I think it was like an hour, maybe 50 something minutes. But I woke up grateful and thankful that my life and my schedule is designed in such a way that it's 9 o'clock and you've already had a nap. Because you get up early, you have coffee, you do your thing. But again, it was like, hey, these are the 10 things that you need to get done today. You have all day. I mean, it was only 9 a.m. A lot of people are just getting started by then. I'd already done some things. Um, But again, it's like you got all day. Pace yourself. It's that kind of marathon mindset pace. Some people do that whole kind of red light to red light pace, hurry up and do one thing, hurry up and do the next thing. You, people who run race from red light to red light, but you end up next to the same people if you just pace yourself. Avoid the burnout, avoid the anxiety. That's what it is. That's the reason I don't have notifications on my phone, alerts. If I want to pull for it, I will. I have people in my emergency contacts who can get through, even if my phone's on Do Not Disturb, which it is most of the time. Uh, yeah, but typically, I you can only do one thing at a time, and I'm a big kind of first things first kind of guy. And with that concept, when there's too much coming at you, for me, it creates anxiety. So, how I deal with it, because sometimes my wife will do that. She'll try to give me too much information all at once. And it's like, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what's the part we need to focus on now? And let's just focus on that. And you can tell me about the rest the closer we get to the next part. But, sometimes you don't need the whole story to start. I don't need all the instructions. Just kind of tell me what you don't want now. I can, along the way. So, like, if I say yes and you have my buy-in, get me going on what it is you want and explain the rest later. Because I'll lose interest if you start giving me way too much information that I can't do nothing with, or information that is not part of what I'm going to be doing. It's like, hey, this part, disregard. Um, yeah. Now I think about that. I was like, I got to make sure I'm doing that. But there is that I don't do the same thing. Like if it bothers you, then maybe you do it. Maybe that's a reason you should look at it. Make sure you're not guilty of it as well. Um, I think if I did, it would be in terms of providing explanation as to a why. If the why is attached, then it makes it easier to get buy-in. But like I said, typically this is something like with my wife. I'll be doing something and she'll distract me for something and I'll be like, I don't mind doing it, but okay, just give me what I need so I can do it and be done. But yeah, oh yeah, this goes back to notifications. Anxiety is I have enough anxiety about enough things because I'm a very task oriented. But that's why I have to tell myself marathon, pacing. And I'm more like the kind, not the 3.5 hour, more like 8 hour, walk through the mountains, which, speaking of, I did two 1 hour walks today because I signed up for that 20 miler in February. It's going to be cold. So it was raining earlier. I did 1 hour on the treadmill and then an hour outside once it stopped raining, but it was cold, cool. I wore shorts and a hoodie, but, trying to get myself acclimated to being cold and putting in longer duration walks or more miles per day, I guess you could say. What's better than 1 hour? 2 hours. Because it's going to take probably 7, 8 hours to do the 20 miles through this park. So, you know, you need to be walking 2 hours a day or more, at least. Like I said, I think the longest I'd ever done in training was maybe 12 miles. So then you're counting on grit to get you the other halfway there. So maybe if I get one 10-miler in before we go. Let's see if I can do. I know sometimes I can walk about maybe 4 miles in an hour 15. Could get 8 miles a day. It wouldn't be too bad to be almost half. Do that for a couple months. Could be good to go. For sure. See what else did I write down? Oh yeah, the other fun thing for the week. I think it was about Tuesday. Um, I got up and took my daughter to school, and my wife was making ice, and she was getting ready to go, and we are doing all this stuff, and I was like, didn't really think too much of it. So whatever time comes along, and this might have been the day Buck woke up early, and so if everything is scaled back early, his ice cream time is scaled back. I'm like, you want some ice cream? And I go into the freezer, and it was super soft, liquidy. And I thought, like, okay, maybe when I get the ice pack out for my daughter's lunch, maybe I left it open. And then my wife's like, no, remember I put some ice down there. We're making ice on the counter ice top maker. She puts it in a Ziploc bag, throws it in the freezer. And she thought maybe she left it open. And so we're like, no, okay, well, we like transfer a few things and then to the fridge that could, or cook a few things, or I try to eat way too much. And then where it was something like, okay, I'd closed it and it'd been several more hours, like 7:38 at night. It's like, hey, it's already been closed for 3 hours. Surely it should come back to 10. And it wasn't really. And we're like, well, we'll check it in the morning. We have some ice packs, like the kind you put on your back. We'd thrown some stuff away because it was trash day, Monday, and, or Tuesday. And the, we're like, we'll see if it like refreezes the popsicles. We had these kind of in a clear bag that were kind of like this coconut with a pineapple covering. And you could see like where the pineapple covering like kind of had melted. And we're like, we'll see if it freezes back because you could see liquid, kind of like liquid in a bag, a little clear bag. And we woke up the next morning and it didn't. And then, of course, everything in the refrigerator feels like it's losing temp. So my wife takes some of it to my dad's, and we're just, I think that was trash day Tuesday, and I just continue to throw stuff away because they don't come till later. But it was just kind of a bummer because, then what happens is we call the place, and the place who fixed it because it had freezer problems while he was in rehab. And my wife and his daughter worked to get that fixed. And so it's only been, man, since September was maybe when they fixed it, end of September. And I got him out October 12th. And so we call and set up an appointment, see if is it guaranteed? Do they need the part? Can they fix it? Yada, yada, yada. And they're like, we'll come out the next morning. And of course, they come out and they're like, well, we didn't really fix anything the first time. All we did was charge it. We were trying to see how long it would charge because it's got like this pinhole, and we didn't replace the part. And I'm like, man, they charged so much, is what they charged. Huh, you need to charge the freezer. You charged me a lot of money. But the parts, no parts, and all you did was charge the thing. Anyway, so they tried to charge it again. It wouldn't take the charge. And of course, the way these fridges and freezer works, when you have a top or bottom one, fridge or freezer is typically so if the freezer goes out, the way you cool the fridge is it dumps air from the freezer into the fridge and then vice versa. When you want to, like, let's say, warm up the top, it would dump some air into the freezer, resulting in a colder freezer, letting cold air out and warming up the top. And so without one, they both get jacked up. And so now when one doesn't work, guess what? There's no cold air from the freezer to dump into the main area of the fridge and uh, keep everything cool there. So that was a bummer. However, my wife and I, back in my corporate days, I had a little igloo fridge freezer combo, one of those little mini ones. And it's pretty nice. It holds quite a bit. It'll hold about 6 to 8 cans on the side. They slide down, up and down. It's got a mini crisper, but it's got a freezer that holds, it'll hold some ice cream and a few other things. And so I had just gone to help my mom with that because something busted in it and she cleaned it out and defrosted it. And so it was sitting there. And she had my cousin, he had taken off for the day for his girlfriend's birthday. And that was one of the rainy days. She had him bring us that. So at least we would be able to like have like some lunch for my daughter, Buck's orange juice because we had one of those little countertop ones that my daughter had in her bedroom. Maybe it holds like 4 drinks. We had that and had his orange juice and a protein shake, or maybe a couple in there. It didn't really hold much. Um, but yeah, this one held a little bit more and would get us through the week. And so I was grateful for my cousin bringing that to me. And yeah, but then it was about getting another fridge and getting him to do it and ordering it online and that whole thing. And, my wife sat and did that with him one day. And finally, at one point, he was like, I'm tired of thinking about it. Like, get this thing away from me. That's what he says about the laptop. And he just didn't have the bandwidth. So we're like, well, we got this another day. This another day. Had to be American made. That was his preference. He didn't want the cheapest. He wanted American made. So, um, I don't think we got it the second day. We didn't get it maybe till Friday. Yeah, because it got delivered yesterday. Um, he was finally ready to deal with it, and we got it done with the next day delivery. So it all worked out. And we placed an order for some Walmart delivery of groceries to be here this morning. But it was funny because I kind of queued everything up and then had my wife add the last few things, told her to pick a time, check out. Well, I wake up. It was supposed to be between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. It's like 9:47. I'm like, great, everything's probably been sitting out there because typically they deliver pretty like if I pick a 7 a.m. to 9, they're delivering at 7:07. Just the way it is. So I'm like, oh boy, it's probably been there since 8:05. And it wasn't. And I go to the computer, and what pulls up? Your reservation has expired. So my wife chose the time, but never went and completed the payment. So then I complete the payment, choose add an extra $5 to make it in 3 hours or less, expedite it instead of having it at like 5 this afternoon. Um, yeah, that's been the day, the morning. Uh, but yeah, I've been on 2 walks today. Did more than my 45 minutes of learning. My daughter went to play with a friend. I get to go pick her up later. Probably go help out. Change David. and maybe see my dad. Get ready for another week. See what we can get into. And on that note, I'm guessing this is about the time to go back to 2 times a week instead of 3 times a week. I'm not 100% positive on the days if I'll just go back to Wednesdays and Saturdays. More than likely, that's something that'll happen. But as I am taking and completing another certification after getting my one accredited transformation life coaching cert last week, working on the second one, and then working on the website. I just need more time, and I'm going to be taking on a couple of free clients to coach before I start coaching, and opening it up to everyone. Therefore, I need the additional time. And of course, rebranding and working into your peakperformancepartner.com and that podcast. So we're going to keep it to one Caregiving Chronicles a week and one My Journey until we finish that. And then we'll probably start in on your peak performance. Start switching it up as I get closer to everything and the idea. And yeah, still got a lot of background work to do. Tons. Well, yeah, sign up for health insurance too. That's what that side was. Health, go. I'm making myself a note on my to-do list. See, keeping myself accountable. You'll do that by the 15th, and this will be out on the 9th. So yeah, that gives you an idea. Ugh. That's really not spirit though, when you don't like something. But I stay pretty busy, And then when things come up, just like my dad going to the ER on Friday, was much like Buck waking up early. Sometimes that's just the way it is. That is life. Gotta roll with it. Life happens. Maybe I would have done it earlier in the week. Maybe. Oh, and then I didn't sleep. Yeah, after getting him to the ER, doing all that, I just ended up staying up all night. All the next day, we watched the fights, and I finally slept and slept almost 9 hours. So I was ready. But all right, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting. And as always, go out and be the person that you would want to meet.
Asteroid of fear.